Hello, Trail Travelers. It's Carrie here with Trail Traveler, and we're going to talk about switch systems today. What I mean by that is auxiliary switches that you add to your Jeep so you can control lights. And here we have LP4s, we have a light bar, we've got Cal lights that have two different functions. I've got lights on the back as well. And so I need more than 4 switches, which is what comes with the Jeep Rubicon. So we wanted to add a switch system. Now, if you've watched the channel for a while, you know that we did add one, and it was the Auxbeam switch system. Seemed like a good idea at the time, but there's a critical flaw in that product. I'm going to go show you what that is. Okay, so here we have the Auxbeam 8-port switching system, and I can turn lights on. You can actually see them turn on in the garage there. The LP4s, lights in the rear, strobe light, the Cal lights. Should be able to see it light up the garage. So, does it work? Well, yes, the system works, and for some people, this may be sufficient. However, and this is a big deal breaker for me. Now, I have an installed GMRS radio as well as handheld radios. And right now, I've got the GMRS radio on. Now, keep an eye on these. Notice I'm not going to touch them, but when I key down the radio, well, one light came on up here. Okay, that one's not a big deal. It's not doing anything. But then we turn the system off. I key down, it turns the system back on again. Now, right now, I'm getting a pretty consistent result with it just powering the system on, which really isn't doing anything. In other cases, let me try the handheld radio. Well, today, it's not doing anything. Sometimes it will randomly turn lights on or off. Sometimes it'll just like turn the bumper light on or the strobe on. It's very inconsistent in what it does. And I have to kill the entire power to the system to get it to reset. So for me, this is a major problem because we've been on the freeway and I talk to someone on the radio and my brightest lights turn on and blind everyone who's coming at me. Now, that, like I said, that is a real problem. Okay, so most every time, not every time, but most every time I use the GMRS radio, it activates something in the Auxbeam panel. And like I said, that can be bad. And in one case, it actually turned on my LP4s on oncoming traffic. Very bad scene. Did not like that at all. And in another case, it locked the entire system up and it stopped working. I had to power cycle it to get it all back and running. Now, Auxbeam was made aware of this quite some time ago, almost 6 months ago. They said they hired a radio engineer to look into the problem, and I have given them ample amount of time to rectify the problem, and they have not done so. So, since this has caused me numerous problems, and I really I have an issue with the safety issue of my lights coming on and blinding oncoming drivers, it's time to make a switch. And I mean switching the switches. Okay, so what are we going to go with? We're going with the sPOD. And this is the Bantam unit. This is the really nice one with the touchscreen display, fully programmable. So that's going to be kind of cool. And inside, we have some mounting hardware, a wiring harness, and then there's a control box that's going to go underneath the hood to replace the other one. I want to be clear on this. I did not get this from sPOD. This was purchased with my own money to replace the Auxbeam system, which they had given me, but this video is not sponsored by sPOD. It's not endorsed by them. They have not seen this. I haven't even talked to them about trying to get product from them. Now, I did buy this at the Edge Automotive 4x4. They are a reseller of sPOD products, and so I did get it from them. So if you're looking for an sPOD, check out the Edge Automotive 4x4. I'll put a link in the description below so you can find them and contact them if this is a system that you're looking for. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to open the hood. We're going to replace the control box for the Auxbeam. Then we have to run the control cable into the cab, which this is just a Cat5 Ethernet cable. It's really all it is. It's nice and it's wrapped and braided and everything, so it's super cool. But if you needed to make a custom cable of a certain length, it's just a Cat5 Ethernet cable. Super cool there. Now, then we're going to have to figure out the mounting for the touch panel and figure out how that's going to go. So we've got some work ahead of us. It's not going to be just a super simple swap out because we do have to figure out the mounting, but we'll get to that. So let's get started and replace the control module. Here's the panel that goes inside the engine. So let's take a quick look at it. We have cables to go to the positive side of the battery, the negative side of the battery, and then we have 8 blocks of connectors here. So each one is going to have a positive and negative. We can see that looking here at the top piece here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pretty simple there. We have a fuse over here, a little 2 amp fuse, pretty tiny there. And you see there's 2 connectors here that are the Ethernet style connectors. Now that's because you have control and input. So you can actually string multiple units together. So if you had 16 lights or accessories you wanted to power, you only need the one head unit and you can just keep toggling through multiple pages of lights. Super, super cool feature here. You also have some external control inputs. Those are down here on the bottom. Those are 3.3 to 24 volts external controls. Not really sure what I would use that for yet, but right now I just want to get the lights hooked up that I already have. So we're going to connect the positive and the negative to the battery, figure out how we're going to mount this inside, and go from there. Okay, just wanted to show you what we've done here. We've used the 2 fender washers, or fender bolts here, took those out, put this in place, tying them back down. We've got a nice, super clean installation going on here. So now we have to run the wires over to the battery, and I just noticed, you see the red one says positive, and the black one says positive. Well, the black one's going to be negative, the red one's positive, so I'm pretty clear on that. Not going to make a mistake there, but I just thought it was interesting to see that that was mislabeled there. So now we just got to run these over to the battery, and this part will be at least installed. Then we have to plug in the control cable, run that into the cab, and figure out the mounting for that. So one thing at a time. Okay, we've got the BantamX box installed over here, and we have the wires run over to the battery. Next step is going to be to wire the touchscreen in the cab, and then take all the wires that are going into the box over there, which is the Auxbeam box, and move them over here. So we might have to do a little rewiring based on how those wires fit over there. I might have to move some stuff over here. Now, one big advantage I have with the sPOD is I don't need any relays. And right now I've got relays set for most of the lights because the Auxbeam needed that. It didn't have the power to just run the lights directly where the sPOD does. So if I can eliminate some of that stuff during this rewiring. Well, I'm going to be better off for it because this box is just going to be able to handle it. So we're going to put things away for tonight because it's getting freezing cold here, and we're going to pick things back up tomorrow. Okay, we're in the Jeep here, and we've got the sPOD head unit here, the touch screen. You can see, turn it on and off here. And this is the iPhone app, and that's the easy way to program the system. Now, I'll show you here. We've got our light bar, the LP4s, Cal lights, our rear lights, the rear strobe, and our Cal amber lights. And that's reflected over on this side. Now, pairing the system is pretty easy. It's in the instruction manual on how to do that, so I'm not going to go into how to pair it. But once we're in the app here, we can go Setup, touch on one of them, and we can see the different options that we have. We can put names on it so they show up on the other side. Input enabled, input lockout. Those are other features that we're not going to use. Auto restart. Again, I'm not going to use a lot of these features. Auto on, if it turns on with the ignition only. So we can set it so it's only with the ignition switch or the ignition running. So some things you may not want to have running if the engine's off. So pretty simple for the most part. Let's go to our Cal Ambers here. Actually, let's see if we can. You can kind of see those lighting up on the garage door. So I'm going to show you how to set up strobing on here. So we'll go to Setup. We'll tap on it. This is the main screen. So we have a main screen and a pro screen. Now you have to pay about $30 to have the pro options. So that's something that I did so I can have this additional screen with the ignition switches and things like that. If we go back to the main screen here, we can set this to strobe on and off. So I'm going to turn the lights on there. Go into the setup. So let's see if I can position the camera here so we can see what I'm doing as well as the lights. So I'm going to turn on strobe, and right now it says it's off for 0.02 seconds and on for 0.08 seconds. So we're going to increase that. Now you see the lights on the garage door there. So we can kind of fine tune how we want that strobe effect to look. So there's more of a slower strobe effect. Now I'm going to use this sometimes when I'm doing like a recovery and I want to have like emergency lights going. I can enable the strobe. All I have to do is just turn that off and done, and I no longer have strobe. I just can turn the lights on and off. Now if you notice, anything I do on the app is reflected over here. So the light comes on, pretty cool. I turn it off over here. It turns off over here. And you can go into the setup here, go into that one, set the kind of a few of the things here, the switch settings. So if I have my phone put away, I can come over here and set up the strobe or turn it off if I want. So a lot of this you can do from the head unit itself. You don't need the phone. I just find it's easier to hold the phone in my hand to do some of the programming. So that's kind of the main stuff here about how the sPOD works. Now, I kind of mentioned this earlier, and one cool thing is you can have multiple sources. It says source 1 here. I can hook up multiple BantamX boxes. So maybe I've got, a bigger rig and I've got lights on a trailer and everything else. Well, swipe over, I have another bank of 8. So I can string more of these boxes together if I had them, and you'd be able to do the same thing over here, just switching between them. You can also have 2 head units. So if again, like if you're in an RV, you can have one on the dash, you can have one in the back. Kind of cool. So a lot of options with the sPOD unit here. Super, super happy I decided to go to this. All right, hope you enjoyed that. The installation of the sPOD BantamX on a JL. It's pretty straightforward. There's not that much to it. And if you want a great system, this is it. Now, again, this is $930, and so it is definitely the high end of the switch systems out here because you can do so many things with it. But you can also just get an 8-head unit. It got push buttons on it instead of the touch screen. It's a lot cheaper. So if you're going to add lights to your system, this is the way to do it. So check them out at sPOD. I'll put links in the description below so you can find it. And if you're, here and you want to get one of these fairly quickly, go to the Edge 4x4 Automotive in Denver. They can hook you up. They hooked me up. Thanks for watching, everybody. This has been Kerry with Trail Traveler. Stay safe out there. We'll see you on the trails.